All right, everybody, peace. Welcome to the GSMC College Football Podcast show. As you guys know, I'm your host, Casuan, and we have a wonderful, jam-packed episode for you guys today. We're going to, as you guys know, it's Wednesday, so we're going to start our previews for the games for the upcoming weekend. And as you guys know, it's our favorite segment of the week. We're going to give our way too early Heisman list once again. But before we get started, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content. And be sure to subscribe to us on Patreon as well. You can do so by following the link. You can do so by going to patreon.com, click on the search bar, and typing in GSMC Sports Network. That way you can get access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/GSMCsportsnetwork./tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/GSMCsportsnetwork./tip. None of this is possible without you guys, the fans. We're just so grateful for all the love and support that you guys show us. And it's an honor to have this platform and to share my insight and knowledge on the wonderful world of college football. So, with that being said, let's get right into it, guys. We have an ACC matchup we're going to lead off the show with number 4 Florida State going up against Clemson. ESPN currently has Florida State with a 57.3% chance of winning the game with matchup predictor, so a fairly close game. And as you guys know, this game is going to be played at Memorial Stadium, so it's a home game for Clemson. Currently, the over-under is set at 55, and the spread is FSU minus 2.5. This game will be at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. So this is a pretty Vegas has this game being particularly close. Interesting. As you guys know, Jordan Travis going up against Klubnik. The Clemson defense is starting to come on. They struggled against Duke in the first game of the season. They looked pretty well. They looked pretty good last week. And the health of Jordan Travis is going to be a cause for concern for Florida State. Now, will he be at 100%? Or will he be dealing with some little nicks and knacks? I know currently he's listed as active and he's going to be playing, but I know he has a couple of bruises from his previous game that are still healing. But it could be cut. And this was a matchup that we talked about in after Florida State had beaten LSU. We talked about, will Florida State be able to run the SEC? Will they be able to run through the ACC? I'm sorry. Will they be able to run through the ACC? And will they be able to finally get over the hump of Clemson? And this game is going to say a lot for the state of the ACC, because I'll be quite frank. If Florida State loses this game to Clemson, the ACC will not have someone representing that conference in the college football playoff. And I say that quite confidently. So there's a lot riding on this game in terms of the prestige of the ACC moving forward, not just for this season, but for next season as well. Clemson's currently unranked, and they lack the talent of previous iterations of this Clemson team, and because they lack the talent, they're starting to get exposed more for their deficiencies and the mistakes that they would make in previous seasons that would get masked by their talent, or are no longer getting masked because they don't have the talent. So Florida State needs to win this game in order for the ACC's chances to be represented in the college football playoff. And I don't have this game being particularly close as Vegas does. I think this is going to be a 2-score game. I have Florida State winning this game by a score of 28-14, and I don't think this game is going to be particularly close. But I think Florida State is going to do a good job of controlling the ball by committing to the run. This is a Clemson team that is allowing, almost 100 yards per game, and I think that Florida State's O-line is going to be a necessity for this game, obviously, but I think that Florida State is going to commit to the run, especially with Jordan Travis being not at 100%. They're going to commit to the run so they can keep the defense of Florida State off the field. But Clemson is just going to struggle. They struggle to score at times and put points on the board. And this is the offense that has committed a lot of turnovers in Clemson. And Florida State can generate at least 2 turnovers. I just don't think this game is going to be particularly close. So as I said, I do have at Florida State winning this game by a score of 28-14. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Clemson will be able to pull off this upset? Or will Florida State win this game? And I just think that if Florida State loses this game, the biggest thing is that the ACC will not have anyone representing them in college football playoff. Because I just don't see any way, even with this win right here, how Clemson can make the college football playoff, especially with the loss they had to Duke. Because they don't pass the eye test. And this would be a big win for Florida State if they can win. And it'll be on the road, a rivalry game. So I have Florida State win this game 20-14, like I said. A lot of implications for the ACC in this game. Perhaps the changing of the tide, changing of the guard. Akin to what's going on in the SEC, perhaps with Alabama and Georgia. But let me know what you guys think. I do have like I said, I have Florida State win this game by a score of 28-14. But in our next segment, guys, we're going to be discussing the way too early Heisman list. I know that's your guys' favorite segment of this show, so we're going to be covering all of that and much more. So be sure to stick around, guys. You're not going to want to miss it. All right, everybody, welcome back. In case you missed the first segment of our show, we discussed the ACC matchup between Clemson and Florida State, and how ESPN has that game being particularly close. I don't think it's going to be particularly close, but it has a lot of implications. The ACC has a lot of implications riding on this game. Be sure to stick around, though, guys, for the last segment of our show where we preview UNC and Pitt, another ACC matchup. But in this segment right here, guys, I want to do our favorite segment of the week, the way too early Heisman list. You guys provide a lot of feedback on this, so it's an honor to do this segment right here. But yes, our way too early Heisman list. The pictures might spoil it a little bit, but it's okay. We're gonna get right into it. So, coming in at number 5, Bo Nix. We've got Bo Nix coming in at number 5. Bo Nix jumped onto the list after his incredible performance against Texas Tech, leading them on a comeback. Bo Nix actually will be playing. He will be partaking in a game against Colorado, a game which has a lot of Heisman implications because across the sideline is Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders, who might be on this Heisman list as well. But Bo Nix, on the season, currently has 893 yards, 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, QB rating of 181, and has Oregon ranked at number 10 in the nation right now. So I have Bo Nix coming in at number 5. Number 4, we have Jordan Travis of Florida State. As you guys know, Jordan Travis jumped onto my list when he put on an incredible performance in prime time against LSU to open up the season. On the season, Jordan has 739 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. Obviously, that has that big win against LSU. And, if they can win against Clemson, it only strengthens his Heisman chances, and also it puts Florida State in prime position to win the ACC. Because I don't see another team, perhaps Duke maybe, but that's about it. Giving Florida State any issues to win the ACC. So I have Jordan Travis at number 4. Number three, making a comeback onto the list after being off it for a week, is Jaden Daniels of LSU. Jaden Daniels, as you guys know, put on an incredible performance against Mississippi State, and forgive me, I can't find his stats right now, but I'm not going to use the stats. Jaden Daniels, the performance he put on yesterday is the reason I had him on my Heisman list to in the preseason. This is a guy who is electric, both throwing the ball and passing and running the ball. He has complete control over that LSU offense, and he looks poised. And similar to last year, LSU might have started out slow, but they started to pick up momentum and find their rhythm, and they peak at the right time at the end of the year. And it looks like LSU is on that same trajectory as they were last year. So I have Jaden Daniels at number 3. Coming in at number 2. Moving down one spot for the first time all season is Caleb Williams of USC. Now, I want to say this. I do still think that Caleb Williams is the best player in college football. And he's still the best quarterback, I believe. But, they just USC just hasn't played anybody yet, and that's the only reason that he's dropped down. I mean, he's got 878 yards, 12 touchdowns. Listen, the numbers speak for itself. The film speaks for itself. The only reason the Caleb has dropped down is nothing that he's done. He's done everything right. Is more so because of this other player we have at number 1. But Caleb has a track 12 matchup against Arizona State, and I expect him to put on the same performance that he's been putting on all year, especially with the Arizona State team that plays little to none defense. But yeah, so I have Caleb Williams at number 2, and at number 1, coming up at number 1 for the first time all year is, if you haven't guessed it already, Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders, as you guys know, coming off an amazing performance against Colorado State. By the way, that game between Colorado and Colorado State was the most streamed game on ESPN in college football history. Wow, what a stat to be a part of. Shedeur Sanders on the season, check this out, has 1,251 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 1 interception with a quarterback rating of 178. Wow, but we understand that Colorado has not been able to establish to run. Their offensive line has struggled a bit, so they're relying on Shedeur Sanders completely for their offense. But not having Travis Hunter for the next 3 weeks, be interesting to see how that affects Shedeur Sanders moving forward, and whether opposing defenses are able to now hone in on other receivers. But Colorado is in an interesting space for these next 2 weeks. They got Oregon this week, and then they've got USC the next week. And I'll say this: if Colorado can somehow find a way to win both of these games, I know it'll be extremely difficult, but I'll say this: if Colorado wins both of these games, you can pretty much lock up Shedeur Sanders having the Heisman Trophy. No question about it. No doubt about it in my mind. No question. And yeah, and it's the gauntlet will be ran. Oregon still has to play USC, and like I said, Colorado's got USC and Oregon back to back, so it'll be an interesting matchup to see moving forward. But right now I have Shedeur Sanders at number 1 as my Heisman list, and it's primarily due to the storyline. I mean, Colorado going from winning 1 game last year, and now they're already at 3 wins, and the stats that he's putting up, the play matches it, and the height and the coverage that Colorado's getting, it fits the storybook narrative that suits well with the Heisman Trophy. And as we know, sports is all about narrative. At the end of the day, it's all about entertainment. Who has the best story? And as of right now, Shedeur Sanders has the best story, and so is Colorado. So, guys, that is my way too early Heisman list. Let me know what you guys think. Who is your Heisman front runner right now? And do you have any problems with my list? Love to hear what you guys have to think about that. But moving forward, guys, in our next segment, we will be previewing an interesting matchup coming up this week. But be sure to stick around, guys. You're not going to miss any of that. We will be right back. All right, welcome back. In case you missed the last two segments of our show, we discussed the matchup between Florida State and Clemson and how that match will have major implications for the ACC moving forward. And we discussed in the second segment our way too early Heisman list. And I had Bo Nix coming in at number 5, and Jordan Travis coming in at number 4, Jaden Daniels coming in at number 3 for his performance against Mississippi State. Caleb Williams actually dropped down to number 2, and I had Shedeur Sanders rounding out at number 1. As we know, sports is all about narrative because it's just entertainment at the end of the day. So whoever has the best storyline, whoever has the best narrative, is normally what's going to come to the forefront. It's normally what's going to prevail in the end. And Colorado has an amazing story. I mean, like I said in the last segment, that Colorado State game was the most streamed game on ESPN in history, in college football history. So, the numbers speak for itself. And though I still do believe that Caleb Williams is the best quarterback still in college football, but the narrative and the storyline speaks for itself, man. I will have to go with Shedeur Sanders right now as the Heisman frontrunner. But that being said, guys, let's get into some Pac-12 play. Little matchup with number 8 Washington going up against Cal. Matchup predictor currently has Washington with an 84.6% chance of winning the game, and the over/under is currently set at 59, and the spread is currently set with Washington with a minus 20.5. So yeah, Vegas doesn't have this game being particularly close, and I don't have this game being particularly close either. I actually want to use this game as a backdrop to really shed light on how good Washington is. And Washington is one of the most underrated teams right now in the country. This is a team that is leading the league. Leading the country in in passing yards per game. Michael Penix Jr. has 1,300 over 1,300 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 1 interception. Another possible Heisman candidate list. He didn't make my list this week, but very well might be on the list next week. Watch out, Bo Nix. He performed well against Colorado. But so this is a team that leads the nation in passing, and also is only giving up 280 total yards per game. So their defense is playing particularly well also. And this game will be the late night game on ESPN at 10:30. So people will finally get to see Washington play on a primetime stage, and people are going to finally get to see how good Washington is. And if Washington can and by the way, I do think this will be the year that the Pac-12 will be able to get a 1-loss team into the college football playoff, because as I talked about on Monday actually, that I think the Pac-12 is the best conference in college football so far, and I think that this will be a chance, because if someone's gonna have 1 loss, with Colorado and Oregon and USC and Washington, there's gonna be a 1-loss team. But whoever wins the conference, if they can manage to only have 1 loss at the end of the conference championship, then I do believe that the Pac-12 will have its first ever 1-loss conference champion into the Pac-12, into the college football playoff. And as of right now, I think Washington's better than Oregon. I think that Washington's, you could argue, is as good as USC, because USC's defense has just been atrocious so far. It looks like they haven't made any progression, and they haven't played anybody yet either. So that's a little concerning. But if you had to ask me right now, who do I think would win the Pac-12? I'd have to go with Washington. But let me know what you guys think. First of all, is the Pac-12 the best conference in college football? Is Washington the best team in the Pac-12? I know we talk a lot about Colorado, but how realistic is it that they're going to be able to beat USC and Oregon in back-to-back weeks? We know how porous Oregon's defense is and how they struggled against Texas Tech. And like I said, we talked about USC and Caleb Williams, but their defense is struggling as well, and their offensive line can be susceptible as well. But Washington seems like they have the complete package. I mean, like I said, they're leading the country in passing yards, and their defense is the top 30 defense in the nation. So, all arrows are pointing towards Washington being the best team in the Pac-12, and don't be surprised if they end up being undefeated come December. But in terms of score, I have Washington winning this game by a score of 37-17. Like I said, I don't have this game being particularly close. I do think they cover the spread, and people are finally going to be talking about Washington as one of the best teams in the country. And that's how I see this game going. But let me know what you guys think. How do you think this game is going to turn out? And for our next segment, guys, we will be covering another ACC matchup. So, guys, be sure to stick around. You are not going to miss that. All right, everybody, welcome back. In case you missed the first 3 segments of our show, we discussed the ACC matchup between Florida and Florida State and why that matchup has major implications for the ACC moving forward, and how if Florida State loses this game against Clemson, then the ACC will not have anyone representing them in the college football playoff come January. And we also gave our list again for the way too early Heisman candidates. Ashley George Sanders at number 1, Caleb Williams at number 2, Jaden Daniels at number 3, Jordan Travis at number 4, and Bo Nix at number 5. But I would love to know what you guys think about my list, and who do you guys think is the leading Heisman frontrunner right now? But looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about that. And in our last segment, we covered Washington and Cal, and how I believe Washington is the best team in the Pac-12. And with them playing on a primetime stage at 10:30 on ESPN, they're finally going to get to show the country, the nation, why they're actually the best team in the Pac-12. And they lead the nation in passing yards. And Penix Jr. could very well be a Heisman candidate if Washington continues to play the way they've been playing, and they managed to knock off USC and or Oregon and or Colorado. Yeah, so listen, Pac-12 is in a very great space right now, and it's so unfortunate that for all intents and purposes there won't be a Pac-12 next year. But in this last segment, guys, we're going to cover North Carolina and Pitt, another ACC matchup. But before we get started, if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content. And be sure to subscribe to us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, click on the search bar, and typing in GSMC Sports Network. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. None of this is possible without you guys, the fans. So we're just grateful for all the love and support that you show us, and it's an honor to showcase my knowledge and my insight on the world of college football with you guys. And it's a privilege to hear your thoughts too, hear what you guys have to say when it comes to college football. So just thank you so much. So ACC matchup, North Carolina, Pitt. Matchup predictor currently has North Carolina with a 63.7% chance of winning this game. This game will be played in Acrisure Stadium, which means it's a home game for Pitt. The over-under is set at 50, and the spread currently has North Carolina minus 7.5. So a little bit of a close game, one-score game. North Carolina currently averaging 494 passing total yards per game while allowing 382. The secondary has struggled quite a bit this season by allowing 253 passing yards per game. Pitt currently is averaging 321 total yards per game while allowing 236. As you guys know, Pitt is currently 1-2 on the year, with a win against Warford but losses to Cincinnati and West Virginia. In both games, their offense has struggled tremendously. As you guys know, North Carolina is currently 3-0 with victories over South Carolina, which they did with dominant fashion. Appalachian State, rematch from last year, which they lost, actually, by the way. But this year they won 40-34, and a win against Minnesota, which they dominated 31-13. So North Carolina is starting to... It looks like their defense is starting to progress, particularly their secondary. I know they're giving up 253 passing yards right now, but that's because of the horrendous performance against Appalachian State. But they picked it up against Minnesota slightly. I know they gave up 31 points, but and I see some improvements in the secondary. They're starting to run a lot more man coverage, and if the interior, particularly the DNs for North Carolina, if they can generate more pressure and contain Pitt's quarterback Djokovic, keeping him inside the pocket, forcing him to move up into the pocket, and forcing him to make quicker reads. We know he has 3 interceptions so far in the season. I think that's going to bode well for North Carolina. We see that Pitt already struggles to move the ball on offense. They only average 178 passing yards per game, which is why I think that North Carolina won't struggle as much as they normally do, because they're not facing that big of a threat in the air. And Pitt's rushing attack is good. They average 143 yards, but we know that North Carolina's interior is the stable point for their defense, particularly, like I said, their DNs. So if the DNs can generate pressure, it'll make it that much easier for the secondary. And seeing that the secondary isn't going up against that big of a threat this week in the air, I don't see this game being as close as Match Predictor says it will be. I think North Carolina's going to cover the spread. I think it's going to be a 10-point game. I have North Carolina winning this game by a score of 24-14. I can even see as low as 20-10. I just don't see Pitt just can't score the ball. I mean, they do a poor job of moving the ball downfield, and they can't extend their drives, which forces the defense to stay out on the field longer than they need to. And I think North Carolina is going to be able to control the ball, control tempo, and I wouldn't be surprised if North Carolina's secondary leads this game with 3 or more turnovers or 3 more interceptions. If the over-under for interceptions was set at 3, I would take the over. But like I said, I don't have this game to be particularly close. I have North Carolina covering the spread by 10 points. But let me know what you guys think about this matchup. Will this matchup be a close game? And do you guys see an upset possibly occurring? Do you see Pitt possibly taking down North Carolina at home? I don't, but let me know what you guys think about all of that. Because I don't see it. I don't see it happening. But would love to see what you guys think about that. But guys, that is it for our show today. Wow, this was a wonderful show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like I said already, be sure to subscribe button, hit the like button as well. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out our other shows as well. Be sure to check out the GSMC Baseball Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast, and the GSMC NFL Podcast as well. All of our hosts provide great insight and knowledge on the sports that they're covering, and it's an honor and a privilege to be working alongside them because they are some of the best in the business, and I highly recommend tuning into their shows. But guys, we will be back again, same time as tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, 7:30 p.m. to cover more previews. We're going to do all previews for the next 2 days because we've got a lot of great matchups in college football. And I'm looking forward to sharing all of my insight with you guys. But guys, like I said, we'll be back in tomorrow, same time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions, and until next time, guys, peace.